Alderman Burris. Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Holmes.
Here.
Alderman Tindem. Alderman Grover. Alderman Rainey. 8-0.
We have a quorum. Welcome to the Monday, February 23rd meeting of the Evanston City Council. The first item on the agenda is the mayor's public announcements. I do not have any. City Manager, do you have announcements?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do. Good evening. First, I'd like to ask Suzette Robinson, the Director of Public Works, who I hope is in the room. Here she comes. We have a special presentation that Suzette and I would like to make to Hank Daniels from our Public Works Department. So, Hank, if you could step forward. And Suzette, if you could join me at the podium.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, from time to time we have employees do extraordinary things, and we're here tonight to recognize the extraordinary work that Hank did helping one of his fellow employees. And Suzette is here, and we'll tell you a little story.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, Clerk Green, Suzette Robinson, Director of Public Works. Mr. Daniels, for the second time, has come to the aid of a employee that was not feeling well. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story that happened between the two. Mr. Daniels got a phone call from an employee who works in the warehouse, and he asked him, could you come to the warehouse? And Mr. Daniels says, well, I'll think about it. And he goes, no, well, I need you to come now, very calm. And Mr. Daniels was over at the Salt Dome, so he walks over to the yard and comes into the warehouse. And as soon as he gets a look at the employee, who is sweating profusely and complaining of a stomach ache, Mr. Daniels called 911 right away, and then he promptly asked the employee, I just finished CPR AED training. Would you like me to shock you? And the employee was like, no, that's okay. So, he did a really good job of keeping them calm. He also directed another employee to go out and to guide the ambulance in, because it's to come to the right door at the service center can be quite difficult. So he had the presence of mind to take care of that as well. So the ambulance arrived promptly, and quite frankly, he saved the employee's life, who was really in the midst of and went immediately into emergency surgery. So it was a very serious situation. 100% blockage. So very serious situation and then he stayed with the employee until his family was arrived. He made the phone call to the employee's wife, stayed with them, and stayed with the employee until the family arrived. And we both went back the next day to visit the employee, who was in great spirits and making some comments about how he was going to Chicken Shack or something or another. So I'm not really sure how but so anyway, really a phenomenal job done by a supervisor. The family credits God and Mr. Daniels for saving his life, and I think he did all the right things. So thank you very much.
Go ahead.
You better give a speech.
I thank you guys. I really don't see this as a big thing. I know the.
Well, you're wrong.
Thank you. I gotta also thank. Without me, we wouldn't have had the success we did with the employees' well-being, and I want to say thank you to the EMTs who came in and just pushed me out of the way and they do what they do, and Evanston Hospital and everybody else. So I'm a small part of a successful plan, and that's it. Thanks. Thank you.
Next, Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask Luke Stowe, our Digital Services Coordinator, to step forward. We're here tonight to launch a new initiative called Open Evanston. And Luke has been working, probably the better part of a year on this initiative. Many local governments are looking at what they can do to make data available for all residents to have access to. And so we're launching tonight our response to that called Open Evanston. Luke, good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, City Clerk Green, City Manager Bobkowitz. I'm Luke Stowe, Digital Services Coordinator. We are excited tonight to introduce our new open data portal, openevanston.org. Open Evanston is a collaborative effort among our departments to liberate city data for easy consumption and use by the public. Many cities above population 500,000 have now added open data portals to their platforms, but many cities under population 500,000, only 15% or less have enacted open data initiatives. There are several advantages to open data, including greater transparency, increased community engagement, and potentially fewer FOIA requests. We're also hopeful that local civic technologists will build apps leveraging the open data. This initiative is part of a larger digital philosophy that we need to serve the right data or content to our residents at the right time, at the right place, and on the right device. One example includes our partnership with Yelp, Excella, and Code for America to share our restaurant inspection data directly on Yelp, which enables our consumers and customers to make real-time dining data decisions. This new portal allows users to browse data sets, export data in multiple formats such as Microsoft Excel or Google Docs. They can even embed the data on their own websites and even make data calls to our portal by the use of an API. I know a little bit of technical stuff there. Here tonight to help me highlight some of the Open Evanston data sets are Laura Biggs, Jonathan Williams-Kinzel, and Leslie Perez. Laura?
Honored Mayor, Alderman, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this open data site. We're very excited about it. So one of the things in the utility department, we actually have several different goals for this data portal. First, we want to focus on some of our measurable performance metrics, and these are things that we've often been tracking for years. So here you see the amount of water that we have pumped from the water plant over several years, and you can also, we hope to update it on a monthly basis so that we keep it more or less live. But we also wanted to include metrics across all of the utilities department. So, for example, here is the water main breaks that we've had. Unfortunately, you can see that the trend is, the green line is kind of on an upward motion, which is not ideal. But we're trying to show information from our distribution system and our sewer system as well. We wanted to highlight tasks that are taking a significant amount of our staff time and what we are actually paying our employees to do. So sewer main cleaning, this is actually a fairly significant initiative. We devote 1 to 2 full-time crews on this through 9 to 10 months of the year. And so this is the type of thing that you can, resident can go on and now see exactly what it is that we're spending our time doing. And similarly, sewer structures cleaned goes along with that. We wanted to use metrics where we do have that historic comparison data, and so you can look back and see how we're doing. Ultimately, what's not on here yet, but we're working on getting on there, are narratives that actually provide information and definitions to residents and people going on the site so that they can have a better understanding of what the information actually means. For example, in this case, the utilities department has approximately 9,300 sewer drainage structures that we clean on a 3-year cycle. And so that's the type of information that we would add into this to make it more useful for people accessing the site. Yep.
Leslie Perez, Administrative Supervisor for Public Works. This slide is an interactive map of the public tree inventory by the Forestry Division in 2014. Residents can go on this map and click on any of the red push button pins, and get information such as the condition of the tree, the location, the dashboard. The information on the dashboard covers potholes, repairs, and special pickups. Each data set provides the date of request, the location, and a brief description. As a point of reference, Public Works responds to more than 700 requests for pothole repairs in 2014 and 3,400 special pickup requests for 2014. This represents a small part of what Public Works does for the City of Evanston. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, Clark Green, City Council, Jonathan Williams Kensel, ICMA Fellow. Here on our dashboard, we have building permits, active licensing maps, active liquor license, City of Evanston businesses, the inspections, and also the violations as well. Just to let you know, our building permits go back 15 years, the year 2000, and we have our 123 active liquor license there as well. 123 active liquor license. This is our list of 311 requests. It's actually active up to date. It updates every 30 minutes. So somebody can go into Open Evanston and see our completed 311 request and the request in there and sort by active. And this will also help residents run reports themselves, or even staff or departments be able to run reports themselves on their service request. We also have an external link to our crime reports, working with the police department. And this right here allows us to see what crime activities that went on in the city. And they're also able to filter them by legend. And this is through our vendor that we've made available on Open Evanston. I definitely want to thank you for your time.
Just briefly, I want to thank our various departments for their contributions, including our IT division. This launch is only a first step tonight. We have many additional ideas as well as new data sets that we have planned. We'll be working to improve site performance, the mobile friendliness, and also additional data export options. The portal also offers residents the ability to suggest data sets in case they have ideas as well, which we look forward to those. And we look forward to your input as well as the feedback from citizens and residents on Open Evanston going forward. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Alderman Grover?
This is an extraordinary project, actually. I'm not sure that we have an idea of exactly how extraordinary this is. This information that the city both generates and shares is valuable information, but it is public information. So what we're doing here is making it easily available to everyone, and we're way ahead of the trend when it comes to open government and things like this. So, Mr. Stowe, how do we collect all of this data? Is it for the like for the tree inventory? Is it our arborist who already had the inventory, we plugged it into a database, and then we're able to produce the information? Or?
Yeah, it's a great question. So that's been one of the challenges with the project, is because we have so many different software systems. Some of them are a little bit better than others as far as their openness and ability to use an API, which helps kind of connect to the data to share it with the open data portal. In some cases, like our 301 service requests, we already have an automatic live feed with public stuff, which is our CRM that manages the service requests. So every 30 minutes, it's pushing data from public stuff to our open data portal. The building permits, I think, are updated every 60 minutes, for example. So that's the ideal, is that we, as time moves forward, we'll be able to connect, make live connections with our software data, so that way we can automate it and save staff time. In the case of the trees, the data was in Esri, ArcGIS, so we were able to get it out of there into our open data portal.
How about for something, how much of this information is the subject of FOIA requests, for example, that now would be easily accessible to anyone who would otherwise be submitting a formal FOIA request? Exactly.
That was one of our hopes for this project, is that it will reduce the number of FOIA requests. I believe there's new legislation now that if the FOIA request, if the information is available on the website, we can simply direct them to the website and be fully compliant, which is the best way to serve the citizens. We also feel that there may be cases where a reporter is doing a story, and they can use the open data portal to help complete their story as well.
And we need a data set on FOIA requests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who's asking?
Alderman Rainey.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Daniels. One of the things I was thinking about while you were explaining the different data sets is it would be great, for example, a neighborhood meeting. Would be great for a neighborhood meeting for people to go online and gather, for example, all the permits, code violations, special pickups, et cetera, that occurred in their specific neighborhood. Right. So people could see how active or inactive their area was. And I was wondering, can you manipulate the data? Can you sort it? And, I mean, can we do that? I know
yes, exactly. Depending on the data sets, and that's the idea ultimately of a true self-serve model. So if you live in Ward 8 and you want to look at how many special pickups or missed pickups or whatever data set it might be, RAD inspections, yeah, exactly.
Problems.
Yeah. That is our goal. That going forward, you can be able to sort, or even for City Council to be able to look at what's going on, a snapshot of what's going on in their ward.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luke. Two additional announcements. First, Catherine Hurley, our sustainability manager. As you know, we are continuing the throes of our We Love Evanston campaign, and I asked Catherine just to come and give a very quick update as to where we stand and to show some examples of our residents loving our community.
Great. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager Bobkowitz, and City Clerk Green. Catherine Hurley, Sustainability Manager. So as you might recall, several weeks ago, we announced that Evanston was one of the 47 top cities in 16 countries participating in the most lovable, sustainable city competition. So this is a map showing all the different cities around the world. And we're about 4 weeks in to the contest. Again, we can vote by the website, weloveevanston.org, which we make it really easy to get there, or using the hashtag WeLoveEvanston on Twitter or Instagram. And we also now have the city can remind you via email or via text to sign up daily to vote. You can sign up that is an option now. So I'm getting daily text reminders. One of the really exciting things about this challenge is that the whole community has gotten involved. So we have businesses that are handing out buttons and putting out posters, apartment buildings, all sorts of different organizations in the community are coming out and helping to support getting the word out and really activating a lot of people. So this is just a sample listing of people that have been participating so far. And the numbers have been great. We have over 1,200 tweets or Instagram posts using the hashtag WeLoveEvanston. There's only one other city with more Twitter posts, and that's in Toluca, Mexico, and they're only leading us by 20. And in the United States, Seattle and Cleveland are both in the less than 100 tweets. So
is that the entire world you're talking about? So all of the cities all over the world that are competing?
So far, in the 500.
It's a small community in Mexico and us.
Well, they have 800,000 people.
Oh,
they are the state capital of Mexico City. But yes, we are
only
doing
beating
really well.
us by 20 tweets.
So in the next week, if we get lots of Twitter mentions, we'll be really crushing it. But what's exciting on this slide, just to highlight real quick, is all the pictures people have been posting to Instagram of things that they love about Evanston. We've had lots of food submittals, lots of cute, adorable animals, lots of wonderful pictures of our beautiful community. So on the page for Evanston, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see a live feed of all the great photos that are coming up through Instagram. And it's been really great to see people posting pictures of things that they love. So one of the complaints or comments early on was that this really is very much online, social media driven. How can we make people feel like they're part of it in Evanston? And so we're going to be announcing shortly the details around a We Love Evanston Day on Saturday, March 7th. So there'll be lots of things going on all around the community, helping to drive traffic to local businesses, maybe people checking out a place they've never been before, and everything from some of the ones listed here. Any kind of organization, business, the city's going to host a tour at the water treatment plant special. Any and all ideas are open. Ronald McDonald will be doing a photo op. And we also have Bottle and Bottega is going to be doing a special painting your favorite things of Evanston, either at the lakefront or our bike friendliness. So businesses and nonprofits and organizations of all kinds can come participate. So we'll be having more details go out about that, but this is to help people feel a local presence around this contest that you can feel without having to be going online. So the community engagement team, Martha Logan, Charlize Agnew, and Patrick Degnan have been fantastic. They are really behind a lot of the messages and the information that's been coming out. And so anyone who wants to help make something to promote between now and March 27th, Charlize is the contact person, Charlize Agnew. We're also, of course, having anything specific for March 7th for We Love Evanston Day. So there's lots of buttons and stickers at the back. And thank you, everyone, for your participation. You can vote daily at all the different voting options, and we're doing great. So thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey.
Catherine, would you please add to your list where you showed 415 Howard and all the various places, the McDonald's sign on Howard Street?
Oh, yes.
In neon sign is asking us to vote for Evanston. I love Evanston. We were so amazed to see
They were
that.
really excited.
But could you just add
Definitely,
that?
yes. Yes, absolutely.
I think McDonald's was so excited, didn't they change their marketing slogan to "I'm loving it" just for us? That was really great, Catherine.
They've been really great to work with and have all of our businesses. So we'll hopefully do a recap of all the photos and all the great stuff that goes throughout the contest and package it at the end so we can kind of take a look at it. So thank you.
Madam Mayor, one last item. Today is the 110th anniversary of the founding of Rotary. Rotary was founded on this day 110 years ago by a gentleman by the name of Paul Harris. He was a businessman in Chicago. The actual office that Mr. Harris held the first Rotary meeting is now in Evanston. When that building no longer was in Chicago, Rotary International purchased the contents of his office, and that office is replicated on the lobby level of One Rotary Plaza. As I think you all know, Rotary is an important part of this community, employs over 400 folks in our downtown. There are currently 1,220,115 members of Rotary in 200 countries around the world in 34,558 clubs. And that organization is based in Evanston, Illinois. So I want to wish Rotary a happy 110th birthday today. They do wonderful things around the world and are an important corporate citizen in the city of Evanston.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey.
Mr. City Manager, don't you play a role in Rotary in this city?
I do.
And what would that be?
I am the president-elect of the Evanston Rotary Club. So starting July 1, I will be the president of the Rotary Club of Evanston.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you. City Clerk, do you have communications?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have two. Early voting is up and coming real soon. It's starting again. March 23rd is the first day of early voting and goes until April 4th. It's open from Monday through Saturday from 9 to 5 here at the Civic Center in room 2200. It's also from 9 to 3 on the only Sunday, which is Palm Sunday. Then is open from 6 until 7 p.m. on Election Day. So please come out, vote early, only once, not twice, and put in your vote for the school boards. If you want to know who's running, you can go to the Cook County Clerk's Office website, and if you look under candidates for school board, that'll give you all the names of the candidates and who are running. The other thing that came to mind is that I got a few calls about minutes, and I just want to remind you that if you have any questions about the minutes, please direct them to the clerk's office as soon as possible so that if there's any changes or anything you want to add that you think should be in it, that wasn't in it, let me know. But keep in mind also that the clerk is not required to do verbatim minutes, but to give you a recall of what was done. All the minutes are online on the videotapes of the meeting. So if you want the correct on all the wordings, then you can look at the videos. But there's not a verbatim that the clerk has to do. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Next item. Oh, Director Robinson. Oh, good. I was just wondering why I didn't have more people signed up. Just. Okay. All right. I'm not going to ask if everyone in the crowd has signed up because now I know you have. Which means that everyone can speak, but you'll each get a little less than 2 minutes. And I'm sorry, but given the number of speakers, that is the best we can do. Since City Attorney, it's supposed to be within my purview to run the meeting, I'm going to ask for speakers on Robert Crown first, because that's a special order of business, and then we'll get through that, and those people can leave, and everyone who's here for other items, we'll hear from you then. So the first speaker on Crown is Brad Dunlap, then Ruth Hudson, and are those the only two speakers on Crown? Oh, okay. You're on. That's okay. We allow purple sheets as long as you're on Crown. All right. Brad, would you come first?
Mayor and Alderman, thank you for this opportunity to address you. I'm here on behalf of the Evanston Youth Hockey Association. I'm a parent with my son in the program. I have a preschool daughter who will be starting next year. I'm also a coach and a board member. We're here to on behalf of UIHA, to support the special agenda that's being forth tonight with regard to the updating of Robert Crown. We strongly feel there needs to be an updated facility. We're the largest buyer of ice with the Robert Crown facility. We share the space with speed skating and figure skating, but we're the largest buyer. Our census has grown each year in terms of kids as the popularity of the sport, not coinciding with the success of the Blackhawks, increases. We would love to have just the facility renovated, but really for our purposes, we need as we look at the presentation tonight, that two-sheet facility would be the new facility would be our strong preference. Our biggest problem is ice time. We don't have enough ice currently. We go to neighboring facilities right now to get ice time to practice for our players, and we share with the other two programs there. We want to keep the Evanston kids in Evanston. We don't want them going to other programs because they have better facilities or because they have more ice time to practice. We also, with a new facility that has two full sheets, we could bring in other things such as tournaments, figure skating shows, speed skating competitions that are going to have economic impact in terms of hotels, restaurants, bars, things of that nature. It would also allow Crown to stay open while we still need that ice. We couldn't shut down Crown, otherwise that would be kind of a death sentence for our program if we shut it down for a year. Additionally, there's the field renovation. I mean, Crown is such a big facility with the soccer, lacrosse, baseball, football, adult programs, summer programs, district programs. That field renovation would be huge. And it's also a community facility. In addition to the sports, there's also a preschool in there. There's church programs that use it, community programs. So I think it's a big source of pride for our community. I would argue that no other building in Evanston touches as many lives of Evanston residents throughout the year in terms of kids and adults, both sports and non-sports. So I'd like to put forth our support for a facility that we can be proud of here in Evanston. Thank you.
You did it within 2 minutes.
I spoke fast.
Thank you very much, and please help with the fundraising if you want 2 sheets. Next is Ruth Hudson.
I don't talk as much as Brad did. My name is Ruth Hudson, and I've been a skater at Robert Crown for the past 4 or 5 years. I take her classes, I skate on her practice ice program, and I volunteer my services as a costumer for her shows. I'm a volunteer rink guard as weekends, and I am honored to serve on her advisory board. Over the past few years, I have seen every program we have grow by leaps and bounds. There are so many of us that call Crown a second home that we are literally bursting at the seams, as is evidenced when it rains. The roof leaks. I want to clarify, Robert Crown is not just a building. She is a vibrant community of skaters of all types, parents and children. As a member of her community, I ask for action in regards to our second home. I am 100% behind renovation of our existing house, but I am 1,000% behind building us a new one. And yes, I will help you fundraise. I am a doer, and when I see something that needs doing, I do it. So please, tell me what I have to do, and I'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. David. And is there anyone else here who wants to speak on Crown? All right. You're next. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. My name is David Ballard. I have 2 children, one of which plays travel hockey in for the EYHA program. There's two things that Robert Crown's fallen behind in. One is the physical space, and I think that was just addressed. I know I have a colleague, a partner who referees games as a hobby, and he said, I don't like reffing at Robert Crown Ice Arena because it's just the ice rink and the boards are really shaky and it seems a little dangerous. One time he decided to referee an Evanston Loyola hockey game there, and he actually got injured. He said, I went up on the boards and the boards slipped and I fell and he hurt his back and ended up in the hospital. That's just stuff that's just not acceptable. I'm hearing that from somebody who referees all over the Chicagoland area, and that's worrisome, and as is leaks in the roof. So Robert Crown is falling behind. I don't think anybody really disagrees with that it needs an update, it needs to be improved. But I also see through the travel program, the travel hockey program, we see other ice rinks. We're traveling all over. And I think that there's a real opportunity, and maybe this addresses the fundraising. This is just a broad general point, not quite precise, but just commercially, these other rinks are really like centers of the cities and the villages. You see, families, and they're hanging out, and there's places that you can get coffee, and there's a Starbucks type place there, and there's a bakery, and you can get food, and it's just everything. There's an arcade, and the kids are there, and there's a pro shop for the skater, and it's just, there's so much going on, and I feel like that has to be more commercially viable for these rinks to raise the money, and even on the boards on the ice, there's advertising all over the boards. There's advertising on the ice in these other rinks, and it seems like to me, again, not looking into it further than just kind of thinking about it, it seems to me there's revenue to be generated there through advertising, through bringing in like local shops.
David, I need you to wrap up.
Okay, I'll wrap up right now, but you've got my 2 points, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You, sir?
Blue sheets were full, so I didn't know if I could add my name or not. I'm Peter Kaplan. I am the commissioner for Evanston AYSO. We have over 1,600 kids in our program this year. Crown is one of the centerpiece of our fields. It is our youngest players all play on Crown for our U5 and our U6 kids. The fields are obviously sort of the secondary thought when you're talking about the ice rink and all of that. We obviously support improvements for all of our sports, and when I walk into Crown, I find it embarrassingly bad, to be honest with you. And it should be a center that we are all proud of. And I've seen other communities in this state and other states where they are very proud of their ice rinks and their soccer fields, and I wish I could feel that way about what we have. And I don't think it's news to any of you, or that you would disagree with me, that our fields have fallen way behind, and it is a competitive disadvantage in this community. So we are fully behind supporting any improvements to Crown, the facility itself, as well as the fields, and hopefully that disseminates into all the other fields in the city too. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes public comments. City Manager.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, we're here this evening to provide an update on where we're at with the efforts with the Robert Crown Center, as well as to get some specific direction from you. Mr. Lyons, the Assistant City Manager, is here. He'll get us started.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, Clerk Green, Manager Bobkowitz, Marty Lyons, Assistant City Manager and CFO. Tonight we have a couple phase presentations for our special orders. The first phase is a discussion and presentation on two concept designs for Crown. Just a very brief background. This is the follow-up from almost 1 year ago today, where we discarded the design, build, operate, and finance option. So we are back to you with designs, and as noted in the special orders of business, fundraising, and we will proceed. We have a full agenda, so let me introduce John Ronan of Ronan Architects, who will be presenting the two concepts of what a renovated or new Crown would look like. Mr. Ronan?
Thank you, Marty. And thank you, City Council, for having me here tonight. I am going to go through two schemes to show you further renovation or rebuilding of the Robert Crown Center. On the screen here, you see the existing, let me see if I can get this to work. There's the existing facility on Main Street. We'll go right into design option 1. This is the renovation and addition scheme. So in this scheme, we keep parts of the existing building, but renovate other parts. This is an aerial view of what that scheme would look like. Let's see if I believe there's a pointer on here. I just need to figure.
I was looking for it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so what this scheme does is it retains the 2 ice rinks and the gym here, but tears out the existing building here and rebuilds new on the south side, which gives the scheme kind of a new street frontage and new identity on the front. So site plan I'll take you through quickly. 2 baseball fields. We retain the tennis courts here. Soccer field, another softball field here. This is the existing half sheet of ice here, the full rink in the gym, which we retain and renovate. And then these areas are new. So we have library, some daycare, and so forth. The parking lots are renovated and then connected with a drop-off here. So the main entrance is located here on Main Street. This drop-off connects the 2 parking lots to the east and west. This is a rendering of what a renovated Robert Crown Center might look like. So here you have the existing photo here, not very inviting. This is the new entrance. So you can see behind these new pieces here, this is actually the library and a walled reading garden here. This is the main entrance. These are multi-purpose rooms down here. And you can see kind of the gym peeking up from behind, which would be restored. This is a plan.
Excuse me, Alderman Rainey has a question.
I'm sure you all remember, and I don't, but I'd like to be reminded why, when what we really need is ice, why we need a 4th library. I'm not getting that piece of this. I totally oppose addition of another library, especially at the cost of $2-point-something million. I think that effort and attention and space ought to be given to recreation. We have 3 libraries now. I'm expecting there'll be some library use at the new Buku. I can't remember the name of it. Gibbs Morrison Center at Dodge and Church. We have a bunch of schools in our community that have libraries that provide all sorts of facilities. We have a university. Why do we need another library?
Members of Council, Alderman Rainey, when the subcommittee reviewed this over the past year, the library has been kept in through that effort, and that did include members of council. Obviously, we're still in a design stage, so that is still a decision for the council. What we're going to show tonight is concept design. So to the extent that there are any changes, that's the kind of input that we are looking for this evening.
Square footage of the library?
5,000.
Square footage of like a practice sanctuary?
That would be of the half sheet.
It's a 5,400 square foot.
See, I'm seeing another. Okay, I just wanted to raise that. That's just makes no sense.
Okay, let me walk you through this scheme. This is the dark gray here are the pieces of the existing building that we would be retaining and renovating. So that includes the half sheet of ice, the full ice rink, and the gym and associated locker rooms. Be tearing out this part. The light gray is a new addition. We would have a new entrance off of Main Street here. As I mentioned, there's a drop-off. When comes in, there's a library immediately on your left, which leads out to an outdoor reading garden. Four multi-purpose rooms that are used for preschool and dance and so forth. Storage rooms and new locker rooms for the gym. Here we have sort of a service court here with reception desks, offices, concession stands, and so forth. And that is situated such that when somebody walks in here or they come in the hockey entrance here, that reception can kind of monitor both those entrances. We're also proposing putting glass into the gymnasium so that when one enters the building, one can look through and see the activity happening in the gym, the library, and these multi-purpose rooms. This is a view from the library looking through this new concourse or atrium area, which would we're proposing a skylight. The existing building is very dank and dingy and badly in need of some natural light. So we're proposing a large skylight area that would make this a very active, bright place where people want to spend time. So this is looking from the library through that space and on into the gym. This is a view from inside the library looking out towards the west to this outdoor reading garden, which would have a wall surrounding it. So one could walk out, have a book, read outside, take a laptop outside, and so forth. Design option 2 is a new building. I should back up and describe. This is about, if you look at the synopsis down here, it's about 74,000 and change square feet. Design option 2 is a new building. In this scheme, we tear down the existing facility and build a new structure on the very western edge of the site. So the existing building would be maintained until the new building could come online. We've located the building here off of Dodge Avenue with a parking garage here, and then we have 2 full-size soccer field turf soccer/football fields, and then 2 regulation-size baseball fields. This is a site plan showing how those fields lay out. If you look at this dash line here, that is the size of your existing baseball fields here and here. This continuous line would show you the size of a regulation baseball field. So we have the 2 field turf soccer/football fields and then the new baseball fields. People would enter by car off of Dodge Avenue. There would be a drop-off here at the main entrance. They'd go park their car and then proceed to the fields or on into the building. This is a view of what that building might look like at the entrance. So this is coming from the parking lot through a little entry courtyard and on into the building. Very welcoming and bright building. What we're showing here is this is very early, but suggestive of a perforated metal siding that would allow light to come into the building and views out of the building, which I'll explain in a minute. This building shows, this design shows 2 full-size ice rinks, a basketball gym, and library and multi-purpose rooms sort of pinwheeling around this outdoor courtyard. And the courtyard would be for people of all ages. We're showing perhaps a playground in there, sort of full human-sized chessboard out there. And so here, when one enters the building, there's a little reception and skate rental here. The 2 full-size rinks, this one has 300 spectator seats. This one has 800 spectator seats. Both have 2 sets of locker rooms. There's also a shared ice room here, so the Zamboni can service either rink from one space. The gym is located here. We've added seating in this case. Your existing gym is really too small for seating, so one advantage here is that the gym could have some spectator seating with dedicated locker rooms and concession here. The library opens up into these multi-purpose rooms, so these would be deployable partitions. These could be 4 rooms or pulled back to create 1 room that would open up to the library. So in a sense, in this scheme, this could be all one space here. We have mechanical and storage located here. And then stairs here and here take you up to a 2nd level, and there's a running track on the 2nd level that goes around. It's about a 1/4 mile. And it, from this running track, which is indoor, you would have views out to the fields, but also views down into the various activities, the gym, the ice rink, the library. This is a rendering of what the building would look like upon entering. To your left, there is a reception here and skate rental. To your right, the library. You're looking through this outdoor courtyard and back into the building, into the gym here, and then the ice rinks are to your left. This is a view from the running track on the 2nd level, so you can see you'd be running around and looking out to the outside, but also down into the activity. So everybody coming to this would understand all the activities available to them, and it would feel like one community instead of kind of being in a hermetically sealed room and not know what's going on. So an alternate to this scheme is an indoor soccer, where we take one of those ice rinks and we make that an indoor field turf for soccer and other activities. And that concludes the presentation.
Alderman Tandem.
Thank you. On the first option that you showed, during renovation and addition to the existing structure, would that mean there would actually be absolutely no ice available in Evanston during that period?
Well, it depends how you renovated the ice. So you could renovate one rink while you're still using the other one, and then when the first one becomes operational, you can start working on the second one. So I think there's a way that you could stage it to keep at least some ice operational.
Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is the soccer field, is that over the ice? Is there a sheet of ice, and then is that?
That's not what that is possible, but that's not really what we're showing. We're showing one as a dedicated indoor field turf. So in that scenario, you would have one ice rink and one indoor soccer field.
Okay, but they do that all the time, don't they? They put
and then what we do is in that
ice.
Scheme, the gym becomes the half sheet of ice. So you have kind of what you have now, the half sheet and the full sheet, and then one indoor soccer field.
Okay.
Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. And Alderman Tenham, to your point, if you just kept the small sheet of ice open, the practice rink, that's really not usable for any of the, anything other than like little kid lessons. So it would effectively, as I think one of the speakers mentioned, that would probably kill or, extremely set back all the ice programming. And I appreciate the presentation. As everyone probably is aware, this has been, I think over a decade kind of in the making. But I think what hopefully is reflected is that it's more than just an ice rink. This is a community center. It serves as a community center now. There's a gym there. I coach little kids at basketball. There's daycare. There are dance classes. There are a lot of things that happen there that I think people don't really think about because it's footprint-wise taken up so much by the actual ice rinks. But it's a community center, and I think that the focus for the people that we're serving on the committee is to really dial into that idea of a community center, is to bring more people there for a variety of purposes, not just for the ice. Obviously improve that facility as well, but to make this a true community center, which it already is, but so it doesn't smell bad and leak and all the rest of it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. Seeing no more lights, thank you very much. Did you want to vote from us or anything?
We have a direction as far as a special order of business number 2.
All right. City Manager?
So, Madam Mayor, the next item with the update is the approval to issue a request for proposal to seek a fundraising consultant. I believe, Madam Mayor, you have a memorandum in the packet to the council, I think that helps describe a little bit more of your vision of where we hope to go with this. I think one of the challenges we have, I think we have great concepts. I think the question is how we pay for them and what is appropriate amount of debt that we would invest in this project versus what would be an appropriate amount to get from other sources. So what we're proposing is to move forward with a request for proposal to find a fundraising consultant to assist us with some fundraising. And I think based on our success in that fundraising, I think we'll have a better idea of how we would like to move forward to actually construct the facility. Madam Mayor, I don't know if you wish to elaborate further on sort of your vision of how this will all operate.
My very clear vision is that we are committing $10 million of the city's money, and then we're going to fundraise and see where we get with the rest. And depending on the library decision, another $2.5 million, which would be the library board's decision, but it would be City of Evanston taxpayer dollars.
on page 12 of the packet is the memorandum from the mayor, which has a variety of directions that she's proposing. One is that the council authorize staff to proceed with the distribution of a request for proposal, which is item SB2. In addition, would have the council direct staff and the Parks and Recreation Board to work with the professional fundraiser to raise private funding for the Robert Crown Center Improvement Project with a tentative fundraising deadline of December 31, 2015, pending the recommendation of the fundraiser. Number 3, staff would be required to update the City Council no later than January 2016 with the results of the fundraising efforts, as well as a final recommendation on whether to renovate the existing Crown structure or build new a center based on appropriate and available funding, financial impact, and operational needs. Number 4, the mayor is asking that the council consider issuing $10 million in general obligation debt from the city for the ice rink and community center improvements and $2.5 million in GO debt for the 5,000 square foot library addition, and this will be considered and discussed as part of the 2016 budget process. And number 5, pending council approval of the professional fundraising efforts, $12.5 million bond debt issuance, and final Crown Center Improvement Project recommendation authorize the final Crown design documents to be developed in 2016 with construction to commence no later than spring 2017. I agree with the mayor's recommendation, and Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'd ask, as you consider SP2, then to also consider items 2 through 5 in the mayor's memorandum. That would provide us sort of a roadmap as we move forward over the next 12, 18 months.
As a hockey parent for many years, I believe that Crown is a very important part of this community. As a member of the City Council and now the mayor, I believe that we have a large amount of debt in this community. So $10 million is, for us, a very major commitment. Alderman Grover.
As a non-hockey parent in this community.
Well, then that barely counts.
All right. Strike, just discount everything I say. This is an important project, and I kind of like the approach, which is to see how far we go in just a year. So we're giving ourselves a year to see if we have the ability and the capacity to raise funds to build the Crown Center that we want. And that makes sense. That makes sense. Do you need a motion?
That would be lovely.
I will move under SP1 the 5 points in your memo, Madam Mayor.
All right.
Proceeding with the RFP for the professional fundraiser, which is actually SP2, and then all the other points, as Mr. Bobkowitz just recited.
Okay, so you're moving SP1 and SP2?
SP2 being included in the recommendations in your memo.
All right. Alderman Rainey, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey?
But what's with moving SP1? Did you say you're moving SP1?
There is, I think, no action required specifically under SP1.
I don't want to vote on SP1.
It's SP2 then.
All right. So then I'd like to speak to this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, you and I had a short conversation earlier about the method of paying the fundraiser. I would like more information on that before we vote. So could the city manager or somebody discuss that? One of the provisions, there are various forms of ways we would pay this person, and one of them has to do with based on the amount of funds raised, I believe. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how it's worded, but I think there's a professional code for fundraising, and I'm not sure that it's allowed to pay a fundraiser based on the amount of money they raise. I'm not certain of that, but I'm thinking I've heard that before, and that's one of the ways.
And Madam Mayor, Alderman Rainey, members of the council, I think both ways are certainly appropriate. I think different organizations raise money for different means, and I think really from this council's perspective, whichever way you're comfortable with, we could include in the request for proposal, so that it could either be a fixed fee for a fixed term to raise whatever dollars can be raised, or as I think is alluded to in the staff report, that it would be a percentage of the monies raised. I think
that's the part that I think is a problem.
And so we would certainly.
Some people think of fundraising like the mayor and I were talking about campaign fundraising. There's no rules on that. But so I'm concerned about how we're going to negotiate a fee once we find somebody qualified that we select. Is that correct? And this is the credentials are going to come back to the council to select the fundraiser. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, Alderman Rainey, we're proposing a request for proposal, not a request for qualifications. So what we would need to do is make clear in the request for proposal that the compensation could be open, and the proposer could propose the form of compensation, or we could say that we will prepare only a fixed price for the fixed term. So that would need to be included, since this is a request for proposals.
Alderman Holmes.
If I'm hearing Alderman Rainey correctly, but before we even put that in, City Manager, wouldn't we need to know if it's really legal to do that for a municipality? I think that's what I hear Alderman Rainey saying, or maybe I'm hearing it wrong.
I think there's a code of ethics or something for professional fundraisers for things like, I could be totally wrong, but I read that somewhere.
Could we ask our corporation counsel if you happen to know that?
Madam Mayor, members of council, I am not sure. There is a code of ethics applicable to professional fundraisers. However, it is situational specific, and I'm not qualified to get into all that detail right now because it's not in front of me.
And Madam Mayor, members.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. Then you're.
So we're not going to say how much. I mean, we know we want them to raise what, $10 million, 15
more,
as much as they can raise. I mean, aren't we going to set a fee at all? Or
Yes.
Are we going to negotiate it?
And Alderman Rainey, members of the council, if you look at page 21 of your packet, the draft request for proposal, item 4D, fees, it says provide a copy of your fees, prices, and please specify the method, rate, structure of the proposal, example, percentage of total funds raised, flat fee, hours worked, include all additional expenses with the capital campaign proposed. So that is a pretty broad language, and I think that would cover the council then to evaluate once the proposals are received that the compensation makes sense, and we can, Mr. Farrar and staff can continue to examine issues regarding code of ethics so I think that language will be sufficient.
Alderman Wilson.
I think the city manager just covered the point I wanted to make.
Okay. All right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the issuance of a request for proposal to seek a fundraising consultant for the Robert Crown Center building. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
Alderman Tindem. Alderman Grover.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
8-0.
8-0, the motion passes.
Madam Mayor, may I ask the council then to consider another motion that would include the other points that are made in your memo, points 2 through 5 as direction to staff?
Yes, you can. Would anyone like to make a motion to that effect?
I so move.
It's been moved and seconded to approve points, 2 through 5?
Yes.
Actually, go.
It's your motion, Alderman Grover.
It would be really just points 2 and 3. The other 2 points, 4 and 5, seem premature or directing the city council to direct itself.
All right.
I'm looking on page 13.
12 and 13.
12. So points 2 and 3 are council direction to staff.
Alderman Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, it looks like it's not authorizing the issuance of the bonds. It's just that we consider it, which we'll consider at a point in the future. It points out that we'd be considering it and discussing it at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you want that included in the motion?
I think these should be included once we approve the request for the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we should approve this.
either way, I mean, I think it's probably not a bad idea to have the path laid out as far as what the expectations are of the mayor, but we don't have to do it We could, or, it's part of the discussion. It doesn't say we're approving it.
All right.
Pending council approval. So it's all pending.
I think so too.
All right, there's a motion before us to approve
Items
points
2 and 3
2 and 3.
at this point.
And it's been seconded. Alderman Rainey.
Well, my argument would be that once we hire this rainmaker, that we have this discussion with that person, because I don't think any of us are really professional fundraisers. And we've done this before. We hired a professional fundraiser who had millions of dollars of background experience in raising money to help support a city-built performing arts theater in the downtown when we did, and Alderman Nguyen will remember when we did the downtown theaters, et cetera, et cetera. And that fundraiser, I don't think, raised 25 cents. It was a huge failure. And I think one of the issues was we didn't work closely enough with that person. And I think, we might be setting up a path that can't be followed. And it seems to me once we get the fundraiser on board, then we start making these plans, which might be the same plans as are here, but we don't have a fundraiser to deal with.
All right. We still have a motion and a second in front of us, so let's vote it up or down. The motion is to approve items 2 and 3. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Holmes.
No.
Alderman Tindem. Alderman Grover. Alderman Rainey.
No.
That's 6-2.
6-2, the motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Does that conclude your special order of business?
It does indeed.
All right. Now, I am sorry, everyone, that we have limited time for public comments, and I am going to try to keep us on schedule. First is Dan Joseph, then maybe Nancy Spreenan? Yeah. Oh, okay. And Jim LaRochelle and Jan McDermott. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm Dan Joseph of 1510 Greenwood. I'm here to speak about A3.9 Emerson Ridge Green Bay intersection, or as I call it, the triangle for pedestrians, the triangle of death. If one tries to walk and gets in the middle of that intersection in that triangle, you'll never get out. It's like a roach motel. And my solution is very simple. Every third to fourth traffic cycle, all auto traffic comes to red, and pedestrians can cross any way they wish. Right now, if somebody's on the south side of Emerson and wishes to cross the streets, they'll have to cross to the north side of Emerson, cross Green Bay, cross Ridge, cross Emerson a second time to get back. That is not pedestrian friendly. Having a cycle where all lights are red so people can go every such way would solve the problem very cheaply. On a second note, I'd like to alert everybody that the Metro Davis station tonight was indeed opened at 4 o'clock for passengers waiting trains to keep warm, something that's finally happening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Shreenan, and I'm here also to speak towards item A3.9, the Emerson Green Bay intersection redesign. So while I'm glad to hear that the lanes on Green Bay are decreasing from 4 to 3 going into that Green Bay Emerson intersection, I was really disappointed to hear that cyclist use of the area has been relegated to pretty much that of an afterthought. I urge the city to refer and adhere to the 2014 bike plan objectives and the Complete Streets resolution that the city passed. I'd just like to point out that the current bike plan regards this intersection as one of the 12 high crash intersections that have been identified as such on the bike plan. And just to suggest that the city has a chance to make this intersection safe for all users and all kinds of traffic, and bicyclists are traffic. So basically, I urge you to take this chance to do that and make this dangerous intersection safe for all users, and it'll make Evanston a greener and more livable city and attractive to all kinds of businesses and new residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Mr. City Manager, Mr. City Clerk, City Council members. My name is Jim LaRochelle. I live at 2104 Grant Street. I'm here to speak about the plans for the Arboretum Pathways. I believe the plan for the Arboretum Pathways that has been put to you before has been well-intentioned but misguided. Please consider there are only two natural areas in Evanston, Perkins Woods and the Arboretum. In the Arboretum, I have personally seen deer, coyote, evidence of beaver activity, as well as pictures when they had a critter cam working there very briefly at the Ecology Center. It is important we keep the Arboretum as natural as possible. Most people use the Arboretum as it was intended, not as a transportation thoroughfare. If you are unwilling for some reason to approve the installation of stabilized crushed granite for the Arboretum Pathways, then I ask that you forego the state money, plus the additional cost to Evanston taxpayers, and repair the pathways only where needed with crushed granite. Maybe the significant amount of money not spent on paving the pathways could be put to use for up-to-date signage of trees and other plants so the Arboretum could once again become the place of learning that it once was. I appeal to you to be responsive to the majority of the people who have bothered to address this issue with you these past few weeks, and I urge you to vote against paving the Arboretum Pathways. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Jan McDermott at 2214 Jenks Street, and I don't have a prepared statement. I just wanted to say I really appreciate City Council listening to the citizens of the city. I also want to say that Mr. Bobkowitz at a prior meeting made it very clear what the issue is. From my perspective, it's either a natural area or it's like a transportation corridor, and it is one of the wonderful natural areas in our city. I hope we keep it that way. I'd like to see something as natural as possible be there, whether it be maintained as it is or there's the crushed granite. It would be really nice not to have it paved and keep it natural. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Pollock, Brad Frederick, Doug McDonald, and Cindy Beebe.
Thank you. I'm Wendy Pollock, Ward 4. And I'm also here again to say that I hope you will just vote no tonight on the Arboretum project that's back before you unchanged. Two more considerations I thought I would bring to your attention. Number one, the ecosystem services that I've used the recent tree inventory results and urban forest effects model to estimate that the healthy trees in the Arboretum are storing 125 tons of carbon every year and intercepting more than 1 million gallons of stormwater. The Arboretum is part of our climate action plan. We've been told that only 3 trees are going to be affected by the project if it goes ahead as proposed, but that's clearly not the case. Construction would, at the very least, cut and compact roots of many more trees, and damage might not show up for several years. This recent inventory shows that 21% of the Arboretum's trees right now are already in poor condition or worse. So we really shouldn't do anything to put more stress on these trees. And number two, public health considerations. There is abundant evidence that being close to trees enhances healing and feelings of safety and well-being. Do you know it's even associated with lower use of antidepressants? And pediatricians are prescribing time in nature for children, not on pavement. If we really want to be able to say this is a lovable, sustainable city and really mean it, then we really should just turn down this project, keep the Arboretum as it's meant to be. And as a member of the LAD Arboretum Committee, I would pledge to work to make it more moving toward greater access and inclusion. We can hold community meetings with a variety of groups. We can study best practices like sensory gardens, and we can help to look for ways to fund meaningful, forward-looking projects that really make the Arboretum accessible to the whole community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I agree with the speakers who have preceded me. I think their comments are dead on. I think that the current path is appropriate to the space, both in appearance and function. And I think, to reiterate, I think the LAD Arboretum is a natural space, a rare natural space in an urban environment, and should continue to serve as such. As was stated previously, it's not a thoroughfare, and we shouldn't try to turn it into a thoroughfare. It is there for natural use, and nature isn't always cooperative, and I think we should celebrate sort of the different behaviors and seasons and the way that they affect that space. If improvements are to be made, I think they should be enhancements to the green elements of the Arboretum. The proposed changes to the path all reduce the green elements of the Arboretum, and I think replacing the placards, as was stated, would be very beneficial, and improving the elements of the Ecology Center and funding additional planting would all be favorable over repaving the path. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And if you all agree with what a previous speaker has said, feel free just to say so.
My name is Doug McDonald. I'm a former curator at the Chicago Botanic Garden. I've lived in Evanston for over 30 years. I recently, the Rotary talk reminded me that I was talking with Dick Peach, who's done so much for the Rotary here, last Friday, and he is very concerned, very worried about the path going through the International Rotary Garden connected with LAD there. I've also learned recently that in terms of granite paths, in Concord, Massachusetts, there is a 5-mile long stabilized granite path going through the Minuteman National Historic Park that is kept going all winter, 12 months round, and I guess it's very successful. My question to you is, and I know there is some pressure from a grant, my question is it wise to proceed when the wheelchair issue is not resolved? A friend of mine living on Prairie says that wheelchairs go by there on the street on the way to Jewel from over the Rainbow. Is it wise to proceed when the children issue going to school is not resolved? There's been no real study of the actual traffic patterns of the children. And when the aesthetic issue is not resolved, putting a 8-foot path and a 700-foot long sidewalk in a 200-foot wide arboretum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And congratulations, everyone. You're staying under 2 minutes. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Cindy Beebe. I've lived in Evanston for over 30 years, and I'm here to speak about the Emerson Ridge Green Bay project. I believe the design submitted by the city and ESI that reduces Green Bay Road from 4 lanes to 3 will result in serious traffic problems for the city for decades. This plan will create a chokehold on traffic in and out of Evanston. A3.9 recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to approve $500,000 to move this project forward, but ESI hasn't provided the City Council with their project report yet. Based on the city's Emerson Ridge website, the project report isn't due until March. Redesigning this complex multi-intersection project is a massive, crucial issue for the council to consider. There are several questions that need to be answered before this project should move forward. In the options given to Evanston residents to vote on, there was not an option to keep Green Bay Road 2 lanes in each direction. The only options given had Green Bay Road north of Emerson closed down to 1 lane. Therefore, it is only accurate for ESI and the city to say that of the options provided on the website to Evanston's residents, there was one option that received the most votes. It's not that the option is that it was chosen by the most Evanston residents. It was almost as if they were saying, when we want your opinion, we'll give it to you. I have talked to friends and neighbors, and I know no one who thinks Green Bay Road should be closed down to 3 lanes from 4. My father was a traffic engineer, and while that doesn't make me a traffic engineer, I have a cursory knowledge of the subject. I think the city and ESI need to explain to residents and the city council why they believe Green Bay Road should be closed down to 1 lane, and why they did not include an option for residents to vote for Green Bay to remain 2 lanes. I looked up the original bid that was written on February 21st, 2013, and on page 4 it stated that the area has been developed completely and there is additional right-of-way available to widen or realign these streets. Where is that additional right-of-way that is available to widen or realign the streets? Who owns it and how much does it cost? Did the city try to buy it? We need an explanation. And the most important reason that it's a bad idea to close Green Bay Road down to...
I need you to wrap up.
Okay, is geography. Traffic in North Evanston is dictated by the canal. Wilmette, when it closed down to 1 lane on Green Bay, has 11 through streets, north-south through streets. And in our same area, we have 3. And Wilmette traffic is a pain in the neck, as Suzette Robinson quoted. And she has to drive through it every day. So, and they have 11 streets and we have 3. So, thank you.
Thank you. Tina Payden, Renee Payden, Sherry Gregory, and Virginia Beatty.
Good evening. My name is Tina Payden, and I live at 1122 Emerson Street. I'm here to talk about Emerson Ridge and Green Bay, and I would encourage you to deny the options that were given to us. As you can see from the pictures, it is a terrible intersection at Emerson and Ridge. I've been there for almost 45 years. I see the accidents happen month after month. The real issue here is the lighting system, which I don't think has been appropriately addressed. The light going eastbound on Emerson Street has a longer green. How many people know that? Those pictures, they don't know that. That's been a problem for years and years and years. Those are horrendous accidents. I've seen many people die. There's pictures on Green Bay and Emerson as well. Also, if you try to make, in the proposed plan, to encourage a arrow going eastbound on Emerson from Green Bay Road, you're going to see more accidents. There was a reason why you stopped making Green Bay a loud turn beforehand, and I wish you would consider that would be a disaster again. Also, if you use the other option to block off the traffic southbound on Green Bay Road, you're going to stifle the people that are coming from other suburbs into our suburb. And also, the traffic will be on Asbury, and there's businesses on Asbury, and Asbury's not made for traffic from Green Bay Road. So I think that you need to go back. This is a lot of money.
Tina, I apologize. I need you to wrap up.
Okay. This is a lot of money that you're paying these people to do a traffic study, and I don't think they did an appropriate job, and you need to reconsider this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what's going.
Hello, everyone. My name is Renee Payton. I'm at 1122 Emerson, and I am here to talk about the Emerson Ridge Green Bay traffic study, which I believe is an abomination. To pay $400,000 for such a juvenile production and set of options is unacceptable. There were no analytical papers involving the traffic flow after the changes, how emergency vehicles were to be affected, or changes in traffic signals. For $400,000, I would expect an automated simulation of the traffic flow before and after each option, not just numbers they got from the city and recent numbers on a bunch of papers to indicate how signals will work. Put it together and let's see it. They did not account for the additional traffic from future developments, 5-ton delivery trucks, or public transportation. The three options were stabs in the dark, and the survey did not include an option of none of the above. Since when does landscaping improve traffic? Isn't that another issue? The recommended additional trees in key areas will block drivers' views and create a more dangerous environment with more accidents. Shrinking Green Bay Road from 4 lanes to 3 does not improve traffic. I would have expected the principals to have analyzed the traffic on a weekly, if not daily basis, and come up with their own numbers. The city could have gotten its own people to do what they did for a lot less. How many traffic accidents did they capture in their study? I bet they can't touch my sister's pictures. Did they even account for traffic accidents? No. That would require some work and brain power. If the principals had done the required research, they would have found that there was a reason the left turn to southbound traffic was prohibited on Green Bay. Too many accidents. Why would you put it back? To increase the number of accidents to promote chaos and destruction? What about emergency vehicles during rush hour, police, fire, and ambulance services? Isn't that a critical component of a traffic study to ensure that none of these services is hindered because of a life may depend on it?
Renee, I need you to wrap up. Sorry.
Blocking off a street will not improve their traffic chances of getting to their destination. Part of the money should have been spent properly notifying the surrounding community with dates and times, phone calls, and visits to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. One critical business would have been devastated. To eliminate traffic parking on Asbury and try to force the avenue to accommodate the extremely heavy Green Bay traffic is prohibitive. Thompson customers have funeral processions leaving from Asbury. To require the bereaved to try to fight for parking on Green Bay Road and require them to enter from the back of the building to view the body is ludicrous. Can you imagine passing through the embalming room on your way to see your deceased loved one? I'm almost done. A traffic study lacks specificity and pertinent considerations. As Judge Judy would say, if it doesn't make sense, it isn't true. I give the traffic study options a grade F. They did not do their own research. They did not address the fundamentals of such a critical high traffic area, but handled the project as if we lived in a cornfield in Nebraska. They do not have a proof of concept. The options only promote more traffic congestions and accidents.
Renee, we really need to meet.
These should be the requirements, couple more sentences. These should be the requirements for such a critical study, and shame on you if you think this traffic study is acceptable. If you are, you're not thinking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Gregory. I'm an Evanston resident, but I'm here on behalf of Thompson Funeral and Cremation at 1917 Asbury. I would just like to know if there is any way we can sit down and have a one-on-one with the architect to see, or the developer to see where this project is going, because we do not have a lot of services there, but when we do, parking is an issue. And we do, when we leave for the cemetery, we do leave from the back, but we line up in the front.
The city manager will arrange a meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Public meetings already. We've had enough public meetings.
You say Virginia Beatty?
Yes, I did.
Virginia Beatty. My name is Virginia Beatty, and I live at 1509 Forest Avenue in Evanston. And I want to thank Director Robinson and Mr. D'Agostino for letting me see a copy of the latest Ladd Arboretum path plan. Well, the plan does not depict the actual field conditions of the Arboretum and is also different from the earlier maps. It does give you a general idea of what's intended. In the Ladd Arboretum, about 50% of the roots in the top 6 inch of the soil the top 6 inches of the soil has contained about 50% of the roots, and the tree roots go out about 2 to 4 times the diameter of the crown of the tree. The 12-inch deep, 12-foot wide swath of going straight through the Arboretum will cut through many of the roots. I calculate about 30% of them. And this will certainly kill the trees. An arboretum without trees is not truly an arboretum. For over 50 years, Evanstonians have spent a lot of their time and some money to develop the Arboretum and to build the Ecology Center. The reduction of trees and the destruction of the Arboretum will leave many of us very, very unhappy. And I wish all of you will look at the current February 2nd plan. It doesn't correspond with what's out there. And I think it would be very good if you all would take a look at the Arboretum. I'd be happy to take any of you or all of you on a tour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Charles Smith, Pam Johnson, Morty Bjornson, and Catherine Nagler.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Manager, members of the City Council. A lot of you have heard what I have to say about the Arboretum, so I'll try and mention something new. Some of the questions that came up were ADA access and barriers. And I just want to say that Ladd Arboretum is as accessible as any park in the city of Evanston, and more accessible than most. The building that we put there in 7 or 8 years ago is totally ADA compliant. The other issue was 12-month-a-year access. I went around today and looked at, visited 7 parks, and all 7 parks there, the snow had not been removed from the walks. So even if there was a paved path in the Arboretum, it's unlikely that we should plow them or would have the resources to plow them free of snow. There are other amenities in the Arboretum that are in many ways more important. The winter scenery, and also we provide snowshoes for people who want to really enjoy the atmosphere of the Arboretum in the wintertime. I contacted 311 today to ask them to do a history check to see if there had been any complaints about the paths in Ladd Arboretum, and there haven't been. So it's kind of like a a solution, looking for a problem. There is a great deal of affection for those paths and for the present condition of the Arboretum. And with the coalition that has all come together to stop this paving in that Arboretum, it's clear that there is significant support in the community to go forward and improve the Arboretum, to seek other sources of revenue, to come together as the environmental organizations and other organizations that are interested in promoting the use and safety and access of the Arboretum. And I would say that tapping those resources...
Mr. Smith, I need you to wrap up.
I was going to say one more thing. In tapping those resources is probably more beneficial in the long run than accepting the grant. And one other thing I'll say very quickly is that there are hundreds of kids that use the Arboretum in summer camps. And already, all of those summer camps are filled up. That's how important it is to kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pam Johnson. Good evening. I did write something today, but I thought I'd just talk about one of the many issues that I have about this. On a personal level, I'm a walker. I walk on the lake, along the lake, not in it. And there's a paved path and a limestone path. Whenever we're forced to walk with my partner on the paved path, if it's late at night and it's dark, we'll walk on the paved path because it's lit. There's big issues with bike riders, and they're not in spandex. They're just regular bike riders. If you walk your dog, I have a 9.2-pound dog, if the dog just moves a little, a lot of bike walkers are responsible and may say on your left or ring a bell, but a lot aren't, and they're whizzing by. And if you step over just a touch, you can be hit. And I know you're saying spandex people don't ride there, but regular bike riders do, and they're like parents. Some are good parents, some aren't. Same with bike riders. So in the Ladd Arboretum that I walk in, that will change it. I won't be walking there anymore. I know what will happen. I see it on the lake. The other thing is, personally, I've broken 2 ankles. I've been in a motorcycle accident. Paved paths, not good for me. Not good for many older people, which I am before my time because of my carelessness, but my body's been in a lot of accidents. Paved paths aren't good for older people. That's another thing. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good evening. I'm Catherine Nigler. I live at 1319 Chicago Avenue. I've lived in Evanston about 25 years. I agree with everything that has been expressed relative to the Ladd Arboretum, and I do hope you vote against it. An arboretum is a place that is grown with trees, with living trees. It is not a tree museum. It is a place that trees grow. And an arboretum trail is a path through woods or wilderness. It's not a thoroughfare. I don't understand why this is so important because on the other side of the channel, there is a thoroughfare for bicycles. And it is also accessible to wheelchair, and it's well lit. So what I would really hope is maybe that traffic could get directed over to the other side for bikes, and that trail, and I've ridden it, it's a beautiful trail, goes all the way from Emerson to Green Bay. So I would like to thank you for listening to me, but also I hope you do vote against what the current plans are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Marty Bjornson. I live at 1807 Grant Street, and from my living room window I can see the Arboretum, at least the beginning part of it, from Green Bay Road. In the more than 50 years that I've lived in Evanston, I've been privileged to enjoy the beauty of the Ladd Arboretum and to have served several terms on the boards of both the Ladd Arboretum Committee and the Evanston Environmental Association. I still consider myself a steward of the Arboretum as its founders imagined it, and of its living legacy for generations to come. Since their founding, the Ladd Arboretum Committee and the Evanston Environmental Association have been charged with and committed to the oversight of the Arboretum itself and of the intentions of its founders. The goal of the Arboretum's founders was to provide an extraordinary resource to educate all generations about the value of urban nature and to preserving it, not as a static museum sort of situation, but as a living legacy. We should keep the promise made by Arboretum founders. We should commit to teaching what it means to escape for a while to this urban nature path and to protect the privilege of doing so. Let us respect the recommendations of Evanston's committed Ladd Arboretum Committee and the Evanston Environmental Association and all the experts with whom they have consulted. Let us commit more to universal oversight and stewardship of the Ladd Arboretum. Let us listen to what the speakers before me have said. We should treasure and preserve the foresight and vision of the Arboretum's founders, but we should continue to look forward in ways that we can work together to have the Arboretum be what was intended and what we hope for it to be. And I, for one, would be happy to work with any of you and continue to work with the Arboretum Committee and the Environmental Association to achieve a goal that would be right for Evanston, all of Evanston. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Emma Garl-Smith, Peggy Tarr. My apologies. Antoine S. something? Yeah, no, I've got Mr. Halliburton and Junad Risky.
Excuse me, I got here too late to sign up, or may I please
I signed
speak?
up for you.
Thank you. I'm Nathan Halliburton.
Could you wait?
You have to wait your turn.
I've got a couple people in front of you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Emma?
Excuse me, I'm on the non-agenda item. Someone signed me up on the agenda item. I'm speaking on a non-agenda.
All right, Peggy, I'm taking you off. Emma?
My name is Emma Garl-Smith, and I'm a Ward 8 resident, and I want to bring this over. So what I just gave you was a piece of the permeable concrete path. I can't, I hesitate to add to what all these experts have said about the surface of the path and the fact that it shouldn't be paved. So I can really only speak as someone who grew up in Evanston, who spent hours in the Arboretum, among the trees, on the path. And, that surface, not only has everyone talked about how unfriendly it is to the environment, but it's a really rough surface for like kids to be on, people walking, all the things that we say we want to encourage with this path. I think that would be a huge backward step. So, thank you.
Thank you. Antoine?
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Antonia Strumanova. Ladd Arboretum is very close to my heart because it reminds me of the city that I'm coming from, that is surrounded by forests, mountains, and trees. Paving the Arboretum path will create a common park that it's not necessary because Evanston has so many beautiful parks and only one Arboretum. I understand your concern about the students walking through, but I don't think they should be there in the first place unaccompanied, but without an adult. I work as a mail carrier, and I'm outside all year round. I don't know the statistics, but I know that there are not so many snowy days in the year. When it's cold and snowy like today, I can tell you there is not a living soul out there. I don't think we have to destroy something that was created and kept with love for many years just because of the 20 or 30 days of the year that may not make the Arboretum not accessible for wheelchairs, bikes, and students. Let's keep our lots as natural as possible. I'm not a professional landscaper, but I know there is no asphalt or cement in the forest. We should be smart about the money we are spending, educate our kids about the trees instead of killing them. Thank you.
Thank you. Junad Risky, Jerry Garl, and then Mr. Halliburton.
Junad Risky. So Mayor Tisdale's upset with the governor, Rauner. To me, it's refreshing to have a public official who maybe doesn't lie to us. Maybe the mayor tonight will tell us if she supports over a 10% property tax increase to replace the loss of state revenues. What I'll talk about tonight is a few of the things on this agenda. Some of the others may not have talked about it. It's disgusting to know what happened with this migratory bird thing. Basically, 200 trees were taken down so Northwestern could have a view of the lake from their visitor center. This is ecology in Evanston. So those of you that are worried about what happened is going to Ladd Arboretum should look into that. The city got money, but it probably won't even compensate for doing this whole thing to repair what the damage they did. On the Crown proposal, could be an 8% property tax increase. Because basically what happened several years ago, the city claimed that it could actually make this thing cost us nothing, and they found out after they wasted probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on studies, it didn't work. And I think it's extremely interesting. We're talking $2.5 million of the library budget to be used when some people on this council didn't support branch libraries and were upset about the library budget. And it looks to me like you're overtaxing the library at $500 a square foot to build Robert Crown is ridiculous. Then I recently heard the mayor suggest she needed 500 more jobs created for youth, but there's no money for this. And then tonight I heard about Ridge and this piece of property. At least the council stopped that, but there seems to be a habit here of very poor negotiations with our money from economic development and everything else going on here. We were basically going to own part of a coffee shop recently, and that all fell through. It's really quite a mess here. I mean, I've seen people here tonight talking about one issue, but there are multiple issues here that as you dig into them, they have major problems for us financially. And basically, the final thing I thought was interesting, they're talking about more water main breaks. There's a 10% water bill increase likely coming on top of the 44% you've done over the last 5 years.
Mr. Risky, you need to
And I will wrap it up with the last comment. You still don't know how the water department operates. You have no clue, and it's a mess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Manager, members of the council, and city staff. I'm Jerry Garl, 1607 Dobson Street in Ward 8. I'm here tonight to oppose accepting the IDOT grant to fund a widened uniform arboretum path using any material. The effort to promote use of the Arboretum as a primary bike route and transportation corridor is contrary with the Arboretum's designed use and function as a natural area and habitat. Evanston can ill afford the required $460,000 in matching funds for the Ladd Arboretum Path project when so many other infrastructure improvements are needed. Instead, I strongly encourage the council to consider using a portion of the funds set aside for the grant match for restoration and maintenance of the existing Arboretum path, its trees and plants, and for restoration of its habitat areas. Evanston is better than this. We value our precious public green spaces, our parks, our lakefront, and each other. This project is not in keeping with these values. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Halliburton.
I'm Nathan Halliburton. I'm very, very saddened to come before you today. As I was driving down McCormick, headed toward Green Bay Road, I noticed two schools over by Kingsley. The students were coming from the school, crossing Green Bay, getting on the sidewalk, making a right turn on Green Bay Road to get to their neighborhood. On the other side, they came from the same school, going down McCormick, walking in the middle of the street, headed toward Brown Avenue, And then I see a wheelchair out in the middle of McCormick, which has been narrowed down to where it's 2 lanes and not 4 lanes. Now, there's a sidewalk from one area there, but the other kids and the people at the wheelchair place do not have any access but to be in the middle of the street. I do not want to get a call from a family saying that one of their children have been killed on McCormick because there's no sidewalk to walk on. I'm an Eagle Scout, so I'm in agreement with all nature. I'm glad to see nature being where it is. But if we're going to substitute nature for safety and lives, and then what position would the city be in if somebody get killed walking in the middle of the street because there is no sidewalk because somebody decided that they want grass there? But guess what? It's 3-4 feet of snow there, so there ain't no grass there for somebody to walk on. So I think somebody needs to go and look. All you need to do is ride from here, go out of this street here, Simpson, turn right on Green Bay, turn left on McCormick. If you look to the south, you'll see a nice clean sidewalk. It abruptly ends. So all the people that come from Brown Avenue across Bridge Street, they have no access to walk anywhere but in the middle of the street. So I just want somebody to look at that before we have a serious problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Barbara Janes, Charlie Booker, Peggy Tarr, and Betty Esther. Oh, thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Manager, City Clerk, and the other members of the council, and Alderman Braithwaite. I would like to defer what I would have to say because what I'm going to talk on, what I would like to speak to, is not on the agenda, and I understand that it's going to be coming up later. It has something to do with Penny Park, and I'm in opposition to a dynamic revamping of the park as well as adding bathrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Peggy Tarr.
Good evening. Actually, I wanted to start off by just addressing something that the city clerk had said about the minutes. I have to apologize for my ignorance. I didn't realize the minutes were online so that you could actually see them before they were approved. We've had a problem with the petition, and we have a problem with the petition that was given to the city on October 27th, I believe, 2014. Somehow the petition was lost. It was presented again by Martha Moser on January the 26th, and the minutes don't show that. Also, it has that in parentheses, it has Revolution Spin, which is now called Revolution X. But I also spoke to problems with the mentally disabled as far as the noise from Revolution X. And I've talked with the city clerk, so, you know, he does know that the minutes are not complete as far as I'm concerned anyway. As many of you know, and certainly council members know, I've appeared and others have appeared before the council on various occasions to complain about the noise from Revolution X, formerly called Revolution Spin. We've complained to alderpersons. I should say the city council. My alderman, Don Wilson. We've complained to the owner of Revolution X, Jason Bressler, who is actually an officer at a federal savings bank on Elizabeth Street in Chicago, and Cass Management, which is the management owner of the building in which Revolution X is housed. And Cass Management is headquartered in Chicago. The noise continues. On this past Sunday morning, when I called the Evanston Police Department to request an officer to come out to address Revolution X noise, I was told that officers will no longer respond to complaints about Revolution X, that the community strategies, and I'm saying / problem-solving unit of the police department was investigating the situation.
Ms. Tarr, I do need you to wrap up.
Well, you know, all I'm going to say now is I got an email that a CrossFit gym in New York City had been closed by a judge because of noise and because of vibrations. And my question is, when people complain about barking dogs, you know, you keep saying that you have to have decibel readings for Revolution X. Revolution X noise is a nuisance. Now, you guys can keep playing with this, but I know we're going to end up having to go to court. It makes no sense for us to be assaulted all the time by the noise. 3.5 years we have been coming before you and then giving you a petition on 2 occasions and asking you by members of the neighborhood to please have Revolution X do something about the noise. And Alderman Wilson, I'm not happy with you either.
Ms. Esther, you're our last speaker.
Good evening. Tonight, read an article in the Round Table, and it quoted our Mayor Tisdale in response to something that the proposed budget and stuff that is happening in Springfield with Governor Rauner. And it caused me to look at this agenda and things that had happened before. In the number of rebates, forgivable loan, money that we give to business and stuff, like the ES business that was here that has 100 employees, and we are paying, helping them so that they can stay. But there was nothing in anything that I saw that said because they contribute X amount of dollar to the city of Evanston revenue. It did not tell me that, well, out of these 100 employees, 25 of them are Evanston resident. So we are having a business to stay that doesn't really show what it does for Evanston. We gave the car with Fiat and the car that moved on the southeast, we gave them rebate in sales tax and from TIF, and now we're giving a forgivable loan agreement with the entity that is coming to the Dempster Plaza. When you have, it need to be, and I was so strange that we didn't have, and when we are going to address it, a special meeting for the city, for the resident to say, well, we need to redo this budget, our 2015 budget, because of the money that is not coming from the state. I know some of it will come to us from 2014, but some of it will not.
Ms. Esther, I need you to wrap up.
We do not know what our budget will be for 2015. I think we should address the budget as a whole instead of when projects come up that was approved, address them, and then issue a bonds that you have to pay for in the coming years. So that is an issue that should have been a special agenda announcement that there's going to be a revisit of the budget. I think we owe the citizens that. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes citizen comment. Alderman Rainey, could we have the consent agenda, please?
Madam Mayor, I hope you're going to address that last comment in the call of the wards, because if not, I'll be glad to. First item on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor and members of the council, is approval of the regular minutes of the meeting February 9. The Administration and Public Works Committee met this evening and asked your approval for the payroll $3,259,779.46. Evanston bills through the 24th of February, $145,666.52, and then the 2015 expenditures through February 24, $1,456,000. $1,475.26. We ask your approval of renewal of printing contract with Action Printing for the Evanston Life Magazine and annual summer camp guide in the amount not to exceed $62,953. Approval is also requested for a one-year contract extension with Mid-America Water of Wakanda for the 2015 water distribution system materials in the amount of $64,739.55. Request your approval also for contract with G&M Trucking for the purchase of 2015 granular materials for the Utilities Department in the amount of $35,828. Your approval is requested for renewal of the annual CityWorks maintenance and support agreement with Azteca Systems, Inc. in the amount of $22,405. Also requesting approval for the purchase of 3 replacement and 1 new vehicle for the Utilities Department, the total amount of $412,675 from Curry Motors. We ask that you approve the 2015 fuel purchases from Palatine Oil Company in the amount of $792,000. Your approval is also requested for consulting services agreement for the Clark Street Beach Bird Habitat Restoration project with Kettle Camp and Kettle Camp Landscape Architect at a total cost of $27,500. We ask approval for a contract for repair and repainting of the north and south standpipes with American Suncraft Construction Company in the amount of $3,271,043. The total MWEBE waiver request and partial LEP waiver request subject to the final analysis of the certified payroll. We ask approval, is the Emerson Green Bay Road on or off the consent agenda? I'll leave it on. Approval of the Emerson...
Off, please. Off, please.
I'm sorry. Emerson Ridge Green Bay is off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Change order number 2 is requested for automatic meter information system project with the Water Resources, Inc. This order will decrease the contract amount by $25,332.50 and extend the contract duration by 88 days to February 17, 2015. We ask your approval for authorizing the city manager to apply for a Homeland Security and Emergency Management grant application for the body-worn camera problem-solving program. Actual funding and responsibility will depend on the amount of the grant. We ask your approval, Ordinance 29015 is off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Approval is requested for introduction for increasing the Class F liquor licenses for Highland Park CVS LLC, doing business as CVS Pharmacy, 3333 Central Street. This is for introduction. I believe the next 2 items, I think I can determine, are off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. We ask that you approve authorizing an agreement from the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, otherwise known as MABES. Approval is requested for Ordinance 138014, Building and Zoning Permit Inspection Fee revisions to reflect current practices and standards. Ordinance 17015 is requested to be approved, which regulates commercial refuse receptacles. Next item is for action also and amend Section 346C of the City Code to allow the sale of alcoholic liquor on Sundays at 11 a.m. We ask you approve also 150-014, which amends revising portions of the City Code Title III, Chapter 4, Liquor Control Regulations to conform with any updates to the Illinois Liquor Control Act. Planning and Development met this evening and asks your approval to authorize the submission of a grant application for bike parking facilities through RTA Access to Transit program at the Main Street station area and CTA stations. Total grant amount sought is $70,000 with no local match. Introduction is requested for 27015, granting a special use for commercial indoor recreation for Foster Dance Studios at 915 Foster. Introduction is also requested for ordinance 28015, granting a special use for Frio Gelato, a Type 2 restaurant at 517 Dempster. For action tonight is 18015, granting a special use for a wholesale goods establishment for Few Spirits at 2308 Main Street.
Excuse me, Alderman Rainey. For item P3...
Beg your pardon. You want to suspend the rules?
I'm sorry.
For
item P3, yes, we'd like to suspend the rules.
Madam Mayor and Council, I move to suspend the rules on 28015 for Frio Gelato. Next is Economic Development Committee, met last month and requests your approval to...
Take that off the consent.
I'm taking that off the consent agenda. Madam Mayor has not made any appointments for our approval, and therefore I move the consent agenda.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. It's been moved and seconded to pass the consent agenda. Alderman Braithwaite, did you...
Remove 01, the Economic Development. Oh, did
It's off.
And you also removed P.
It's off. The 01 is off the consent agenda.
And I thought he also removed, was it P4 down?
P4 is off.
P3.
Who removed
But isn't
P4?
P4 off? Don, did you take P4? Oh,
I thought he said P4.
I thought he did too.
So P4 is on.
P4 is off.
Okay.
I thought P3 was off.
P3 was suspended rules. Suspend the rules.
Okay. Does anyone want P4 off?
For action.
P4 is on.
Okay.
Did you want it? Is that okay? All right. We're good. All right. We're set. City Clerk, would you call the roll? This is approval of the consent agenda. Sorry.
Alderman Fisk, Alderman Braithwaite, Alderman Nguyen, Alderman Wilson, Alderman Holmes, Alderman Tindem, Alderman Grover, Alderman Rainey. 8-0.
8-0, the consent agenda passes. Alderman Holmes, I'm going to tell Alderman Burris she owes you.
Believe me, I've already told her. Madam Mayor, thank you. A3.9, approval of the Emerson Street, Green Bay Road intersection in Green Bay Road corridor, Phase 2 engineering services contract with ESI Consultants. Staff recommends the approval in the amount of $499,880.52, and I would move approval with the option 3.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this with option 3. Alderman Fisk.
I'm sorry, would someone just remind me what option 3 is again?
Option 3 is with the 2 lanes, with the center lane, it's 3 lanes, but the center lane turning, yes.
Yes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I just want to add that we did have, I counted, I don't have the list in front of me, I don't know where Director Robinson is, but I counted 5 public meetings that I know we had on this. So I'm real comfortable with the kind of feedback that I've had, and I believe Alderman Grover as well, with the one at the Ecology Center, and then we had 2 at the Hilton Gardens.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Fisk? Did you
Yes, I am going to say something.
Okay.
I'm going to vote against this because, given the fact that there have been public meetings, and I'm very happy about that, and I'm happy for the public feedback, I just don't see this working. I don't see that the plan is while it appears to be well thought out, I just don't think it's a practical plan. So I asked for it to be removed from the agenda, and I will vote against it.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no lights on for further comments, it's been moved and seconded to approve option 3 of the Emerson Ridge Green Bay intersection and Green Bay Road Corridor Phase 2 engineering services contract with ESI Consultants. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Fisk.
No.
Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover. Aye. Alderman Rainey. 7-1.
7-1, the motion passes.
Okay, A6, ordinance 29-0-15, authorizing the city manager to negotiate with National Tile Services for the sale of the city-owned real property located at 1821 Ridge. That's off of the agenda, Madam Mayor, because we decided to remove it completely. The city manager will take it back with staff, and they will come back with a new ordinance.
All right.
And then the next is 8A1, Resolution 4-R-15, the Lab Arboretum Bike Path Project Funding Agreement with Illinois Department of Transportation. Staff requests City Council adoption of Resolution 4-R-15, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction funding agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, for the Lab Arboretum Bike Path Project in the amount of the project amount is $465,433.
Is there a second?
You move it.
Alderman Tindem?
I'm not seconding.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Alderman Tindem, you want to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason I'm not seconding is because I am sort of fundamentally opposed to this proposal. I do believe the Arboretum should be and can be made more accessible and more inviting, more inclusive. I think we're approaching it the wrong way. This was really approached by the means of a grant for the path and for bike use, and I think we have sort of steered way far away from that and opened a discussion, probably a good discussion to have, but one that's not really part of the initial concept. So I would, my choice is to refuse the grant or just say not accept it and use the money that we have set aside in other ways of increasing handicap and accessibility in so many different public parks, buildings that we could use it. And not to say that we can't use it on the Arboretum if in fact that is our intention, but I would like to certainly approach the Arboretum at another date with that in mind, in mind of making it more inclusive and opening it up to all residents of Evanston.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey.
Well, I'm just wondering if we shouldn't consider A82 first, so that we can see whether what the council supports, because I frankly don't have any idea how people are voting. And I mean, I'm not sure. I'm confused as to which one we should deal with first. And I'm not sure that we should deal with A1 first. You know what I mean? Because if we're not going to, if the council wants to do a path, then we need the grant. And it would be a shame to vote up or down the grant without knowing what the plan was. So.
Thank you. Alderman Fisk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I think that's exactly what we ought to be doing. And with the, how do we do that, Madam Mayor? How do we jump to A8.2?
Yes, Alderman Holmes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alderman Holmes?
Table it.
To table A1?
No.
Just to withdraw?
No. Just to consider, our first consideration would be 8.2, and then
So just to reverse the order?
Right, just to reverse the order.
Okay.
And I think that makes sense.
Madam Mayor, members of council, may I suggest that the motion to approve agenda item 8.1 be withdrawn for the present time, and then move 8.2 for consideration?
Okay. Then, Madam Mayor, I move to withdraw A8.1 for the time being.
Thank you.
Or I should say until after the discussion of A8.2.
A8.1 is withdrawn, and we are now discussing A8.2.
Okay. So therefore, I would like to move approval of A8.2, which is approval of the agreement with Terra Engineering for construction engineering services for the Lab Arboretum Bike Path. Staff recommends the City Council authorize the City Manager to execute a construction engineering service agreement for the Lab Arboretum Bike Path project with Terra at the total cost of $73,064.25. I don't think that's correct.
What?
Okay, that's all right.
Are we okay?
Okay.
All right, Alderman Wilson, did you want to speak to that?
All right. Microphone problem. Order I'm a little confused on, but now we're talking about the engineering for the path, and right. So I think exactly we're kind of getting the cart ahead of the horse here. So the question as to whether or not we should have a path or what the path should be, I think, is really what we're trying to get to at issue here. So I don't think we should pursue the engineering services, because I don't think that we should pursue the path in line with what Alderman Tenham had already said. I agree with his comments. When we first entertained this, I did vote for the original concept, and I did originally vote for the asphalt path. Upon much deeper reflection and a lot of communications from members of the public, going out and revisiting the area again myself, this, and it's not really a grant, it's a cost-sharing arrangement, I guess. This money is for a transportation corridor. That's what the money's intended to be used for. It's not for recreational purposes. It's not for parks. It's to create a transportation corridor. And I understand why Alderman Grover wants to do that. It makes sense to desire to do that. But this particular space, I don't think, is well suited for that purpose. This has been designed, preserved, and maintained for a different purpose. People have covered it extensively, but I'm persuaded that preserving that environment is more significant than creating this transit or transportation corridor. So I'm changing my original view to support no change to the path, although obviously it should be maintained and should probably be better maintained to both improve the accessibility, but I don't know that it needs to be done 12 months a year as suggested.
Thank you. Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Alderman Tenham, and it's interesting because this is an arboretum. It is an arboretum, and that's why it's there. And I understand people wanting to get from one place to another as quickly as they can and without getting their shoes muddy or wet, but the reason why the path is there is to basically support the planting materials and the trees that grow in the arboretum, and that's, if we're going to be an ecologically sound city, we've got to recognize that we created that space for that purpose. And there are other ways to get around, and I think the folks who have spoken tonight have indicated that. I think we all need to work to think creatively about where it is that we're going. one of the things that I love about activism and grassroots participation is that when we're presented with a problem like this, it energizes the community to think creatively and to get involved and to, if we need to, raise money or to basically rethink things. We think we do these when we design master plans, and we do. But the citizens are very involved when we do master plans. But then when they come to the council again, we really, I think, depend on citizen input for this, and I think it's been very helpful. Certainly to me, to know how many people really care about this area. So, absolutely agree with my colleagues that this is a use that has greater benefit beyond just getting from one place to another, and it's a treasure that we have. Once we go the other way, we're not coming back again. Ms. Beatty, thank you very much about tree root systems. We've dealt with those in other places in my ward. I know a lot more about them because of you, and the health of that environment is critical again to the city. So I'm going to be voting against this, and hopefully we will retain the path that we have there now, go back and revisit it, and maintain it, because I think we do a terrible job of maintaining our trails that are not of some hard material. And we need to figure out how we take care of our gravel, our crushed granite, our limestone, whatever these paths are, how we maintain them, because they can be and are, for the most part, designed to be ADA compliant. And we're just not keeping them ADA compliant because we're not doing a very good job. So I hope we'll go back and revisit all of that, but thank you all, citizens, for showing up and giving us your input.
Thank you, Alderman Holmes.
I'm often conflicted by the way we use the term community in terms of how people show up. And I'm not one to count numbers, but I think at the last meeting, I believe there was 11 speakers, and I certainly attended the meeting, I believe it was last Tuesday night before last, and I think there was about 36 people. And, and I think we get confused because we have very vocal people who speak out on something that they believe in. But there's a ton of other people out there who may never show up to speak, and I feel very strongly about the use of anything public that is paid for with tax dollars in terms of who uses it, who can and who should use that. And so I'm certainly not going to vote to spend a lot of money. Like Alderman Wilson, I voted the first time for this, and I certainly voted for the asphalt, and I would vote for the asphalt again because I believe the trees will keep it cool, and that's what they're there for. And I get told that we spend a lot of money on trees every year, so we have learned how to maintain those. If we've not maintained anything else, we certainly have maintained the trees, or at least attempted to do that. I said to my colleague earlier that I had 3 points about this, not so much about it being a transportation mode for bikes, because that never even entered into my mind, although I understand what the grant is for. The kids that walk in the middle of McCormick, and maybe Alderman Grover and I are the only ones who get the calls, because our wards border the 5th and the 7th ward. So the kids that are going to Lincolnwood, Kingsley, or Haven would be the ones that are walking. And then, of course, in the 5th ward is the Over the Rainbow, where the wheelchair accessible residents, the majority of them live. And so I got calls from them, and I want to speak on their part. But then the third piece is any taxpayer who pays taxes. I think it was Ms. Johnson who talked about paths not being good for older folk. Well, I can't walk unless it's on a path, because otherwise my knees are so bad. I'm afraid I'm going to fall on the gravel and also on the grass. So I need the path to walk on. I just think that we have to think in terms of it being fair to everyone. And I understand. I hear what the naturalists are saying. I really do. I hear them. But still, it's all taxpayers' money that's being paid for that. And I think it's irresponsible for us to not to do anything, which I hear folks saying, well, just don't do anything. So when you say don't do anything, to me, that means don't do anything. And and included in that for me is maintenance. If we're not going to do anything with it, then we don't do anything to it at all. Just leave it and let it be as natural as it possibly can be. I think that's irresponsible. It's unacceptable for me as a person, personally, not to do anything. I think that sometimes we make decisions based upon the number of people who come and speak. That's unacceptable for me. It really is. I think we have to take a stand. If we don't believe in something, I just can't be persuaded. It could be 300 people, it could be 30. It doesn't matter to me. If it's fair, it's fair. And if it's not fair, it's not fair. So I certainly would be voting that we continue. I don't want to spend all the money. That's why I would want to go with the cheapest option.
Thank you. Alderman Grover.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a tough one, and Alderman Holmes and I have been talking about this for a long time. She and I have worked together to try to get our residents to cross the channel and to spend time in Twiggs Park, Butler Park, and in the Arboretum, and try to make connections between these neighborhoods that border the channel. We have some psychological barriers in Evanston, and they are viaducts, and you know what happens with people being viaducts prevent people from walking from one side of a street to another, and the channel operates as a psychological barrier for our neighborhoods that are so close yet so far away from each other. And the Arboretum, while it is in the 7th Ward, doesn't belong to anyone, only people who live north of the channel. It belongs to all of us. And I'm hearing from folks who want this path to be improved. And it's from the woman who says that I'd really want to enjoy nature, but I'm so busy looking at my footing when I'm walking on the path that I can't look up and enjoy the trees that are there. Another resident who said, who told me there's nothing inherently radical about a paved multi-use path through an arboretum, as evidenced by examples in the Chicago area. The path gets used regardless of where we think we'll send people in wheelchairs, people with strollers, or students. This path does get used, and it takes a lot of traffic every day, but it just doesn't work for everybody. And as Alderman Holmes suggested, it just really bothers me as well that we would create a public amenity, have a public amenity that was only accessible to certain people, and in this case, to those who have the ability to navigate a path only certain times of the year. The path has been, we made this decision sometime last year. We put it in motion to improve the path. And we put it in our capital improvements program, and we approved paving this path already. And since we pushed the go button, you got to know that staff has invested a lot of time and resources in putting together the plan for the path. So if we decide not to do anything and leave the path how it is, with more investments of money to maintain a gravel path, and that's not inexpensive, there's a reason probably why we haven't done it already. It's because it's a more expensive undertaking. We are going to be turning away from not only the investment we've made so far in improvements to this path, but almost $600,000 in federal funds that we already have to do improvements to a public amenity to benefit everyone in the city. My first choice for a surface for this path would be the most expensive, I think, which is the permeable concrete, for a lot of different reasons. My second choice is asphalt because of its cost. Very sensitive to how much these things cost, and I'm not sure we can afford the permeable concrete. But I really think we need to move forward with this project that we put in motion almost a year ago and get it done.
Thank you. Well, seeing no further lights, I'm going to say what I think. Sorry, Melissa, I'm going to speak my piece on this issue. I was vehemently opposed to the sidewalk. The police did a study that showed that Haven students are safe walking to and from school, and that there was no need for a sidewalk, as far as I'm concerned, to keep them visible from McCormick at all times. The Arboretum is very narrow, and the idea of another path going through it was something that I felt strongly was not needed. On the other hand, I am heartbroken at the comments I have heard about diversity and inclusion. I think what I love most about Evanston is the diversity and is the inclusive spirit of this community, and that has not been present in this discussion or in this debate, and I am very sorry to have heard what I have heard over the months that this has been discussed. So I very much hope that the Arboretum Committee will work on inclusiveness and that we will be the community that I think that we are, a community that welcomes diversity and that works to be inclusive. I very much hope that that will happen in the future. Alderman Nguyen?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Like I think every one of my colleagues here, this has been a struggle for me, weighing the decision that we have to make here tonight. I grew up in a town that had a magnificent arboretum in Pennsylvania, and we loved to play in it. Much bigger than this one, but I really do feel very strongly that, as Alderman Holmes put it, this should be available to everyone in Evanston. And as one of our speakers from Over the Rainbow how she always comes and addresses us is greetings temporarily abled people, as she sits in her wheelchair. And it's a chilling greeting, but it's so true. Just recently, I have a friend who's in his early 50s who suffered a severe stroke. I don't know what his ability will be ever to walk again. I have a 96-year-old father-in-law who ruptured a tendon in his leg. He walked 2 miles a day until a week ago. Both of those people grew up very much loving nature, and I would hate to think that our Arboretum would be inaccessible to them in the future. Or inaccessible to any of us who are temporarily abled. So as much as asphalt is not my favorite service, I am going to support this project because I think that it's important that every place be accessible. And I do think that we need to do everything we possibly can in Evanston to do that. And I also don't want to turn down money. I think that's fundamentally, I don't think that's a good idea for the city to do that, to have received a grant and to turn it back. You know, these granting agencies look at your track record. So I don't want to risk any future dollars that might come to Evanston. I very much appreciate everyone who's worked on the Arboretum and all of the comments we've received, and this has been a very difficult decision.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey.
Well, I think to assume that the current path is not accessible is a false assumption. I think for the most part, it could be totally accessible, not maybe a couple of months in the winter when there's 5 feet or 4 feet of snow, when it's not accessible to any of us. But I do believe with the proper maintenance and care that the path could indeed be accessible most of the time to all of us. And I think, therefore, that we should move ahead with that. I think our track record, oh my goodness, our track record of our staff in securing grants is 1,000%, and our track record in being responsible and utilizing the grants to the utmost, to, in the most economical and thorough way possible cannot be challenged in any way. And I believe part of the direction we should give tonight is that our staff and our mayor do everything humanly possible to maintain the ability to spend this money where it's needed most, which is not in the Arboretum. So I would like to move that we not hire the engineer or the consultant at this time, and that we vote in favor of maintaining the current path in the best way we know how.
We already had a motion on the floor, didn't we? There's a motion on the floor already.
But this one is an
Well,
amendment.
I'm suggesting that's
You
an
can defeat-
amendment.
You can defeat the
Why don't we vote on the motion on the floor?
Oh,
And
but the motion on the floor is this great big wide thing that it doesn't focus on.
well, then you can defeat the motion on the floor and then vote on your motion.
No, but describe the motion on the floor.
The motion on the floor is to pass resolution for R15, Lad Arboretum Bike Path Project Funding Agreement with Illinois Department of Transportation.
No, we're
Oh,
going to
okay.
point two.
All right,
It's
you're on
A2.
A2.
She
But
wanted to go
what
to
are we
A2.
going, what is the $465,433 for? That's what I'm saying.
It's for-
I'm moving that,
I know, and I'm suggesting that you could vote it down
all right.
And then-
All right, I'll do it.
then move what you want.
Okay.
Because it's been moved and seconded.
A2.
It's been moved and seconded to approve A82, approval of agreement with Terra Engineering Limited for construction engineering services for the Lad Arboretum Bike Path.
But that's for the pervious, the concrete.
It's to spend $465,000
Right.
on something.
It's the
It
engineering
doesn't
for
have
the
to be
permeable
pervious.
concrete.
It doesn't have to be that.
It does not have to be pervious concrete, it can be asphalt.
It can be asphalt.
Well, the engineering would be totally different, right?
Right.
Well, that's the point.
Right, I know, I'm agreeing with you. So we're approving engineering for a different project, so, I mean, if we voted on it. Okay.
So if you voted down, then you can
The
ask
way-
a different question.
I'm just making sure everybody knows what we're voting down or for, so that.
Which means that we did not have to do this way. We should have voted A1 in the beginning, and we would have been fine. Okay.
Never mind.
Okay, so let's vote on A2.
So City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Or could we hear from the director?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. The engineering services would be the same for both, whether it's asphalt or
Yeah.
concrete.
But the
The funding-
agenda is,
the
but the
funding
agenda
agreement would be
item says permeable asphalt. So if the council would have to have a substitute motion, I guess my recommendation to the council is vote up or down A2. And depending on what you do then reconsider your next step.
All right, City Clerk, will you call the roll on A?
But show me where it says permanent.
permeable asphalt.
Where does it say that? Am I missing it?
Madam Mayor, may I make a substitute motion?
Alderman Rainey, go ahead.
Be allowed at this time?
Could we answer Alderman Holmes' question first?
I'm just trying to I'm reading it and I don't see it.
Page 252.
I'm not talking. I'm talking about. Look at the motion, A.2.
Yeah, it's not here.
It's not there.
It's not in the motion itself.
To spend $465,000.
Which could be for
For asphalt.
asphalt or for permeable.
No, it's not.
Asphalt doesn't cost that.
But that's their share, not ours.
I'm not looking, I'm folding up my yellow agenda. We should have done this from A1 and begins on.
This is the 465
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
8.2 is an approval of an agreement to spend $73,000 for the engineering for the path. That final sentence there just says this project funding is $465,000, but the approval of the agreement with Terra Engineering is for $73,000 for engineering.
You're correct, and I believe Director Robinson, that it would be the same amount regardless of what service, and that was the point she was trying to make.
With the engineer, right, that's what I
Well,
thought.
again, Madam Mayor, members of the council, we would then need at some point direction as to what we're engineering, regardless of the dollar amount. So if you're just allocating dollars for engineering something, then I guess that's perfectly fine, but we would need you then to tell us what we're engineering.
Well, let's vote and see if we want to allocate dollars to engineering something or we don't. And then we could get out of this parliamentary.
Well, I'm happy to say that engineering for asphalt, if that will clear it up.
Well, that's a substitute. I would accept that. Yeah, sure.
Great, do it.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second for engineering for asphalt? All right, it's been moved and seconded. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
This is for engineering with asphalt, correct?
Mm-hmm.
For A8.2.
Mm-hmm.
Alderman Fisk?
No.
Alderman Braithwaite? Aye. Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
No.
Alderman Holmes?
Aye.
Alderman Tindem?
No.
Alderman Grover? Aye. Alderman Rainey?
No.
You break.
It's 4-4.
I vote aye.
Wait. Do you?
She can vote. She can break a tie.
Break a tie?
Yes, she can break one tie. So is aye. So it passes.
Now we go back to 8.1, A81.
Yeah.
Resolution Resolution 4-R-15, Lab Arboretum Bike Path Project Funding Agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT. Staff requests City Council's adoption of this resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction funding agreement with IDOT for the Lab Arboretum Bike Path Project. I'm not going to do the amount because the amount would change.
And yeah, you should specify because the memo says installation of the new 8-foot wide porous concrete bike path. So just.
And where does it say that down here?
Page 252.
I hear you on that, but I'm going back to 8.1. So just again, I would then substitute to say for asphalt.
Sure.
Okay.
Could you just give us a moment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who made the motion to say it was asphalt?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Actually, this is so poorly written that it's just screw up from beginning to end.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the resolution before you does not have a dollar amount, so we would ask that if you approve the resolution for R15, we would come back to you at a future meeting with an appropriate budget for you to approve.
So you want, all right.
Yeah, that's why I stopped. That's why I didn't say the dollar amount.
So that the record is clear that you're
Mm-hmm.
you're only approving the language of the resolution, which is to move forward with the project, to accept the project grant funding, and we'll come back to you at a future meeting with the budget.
Okay.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve A81, Resolution R4R15, Lad Arboretum Bike Path Project Funding Agreement with IDOT. Alderman Wilson.
I did just have a question. I'm trying to sort through, the grant requirements and the state requirements. So is our Director Robinson still here? Okay. We're talking about an 8-foot wide asphalt path. Do you know if the state requirements also, if it's a shared use path, require a gravel path adjacent to the paved path?
There's a 2-foot clearance that's required on either side of the paved path.
So
Yes.
2 foot shorter, so it would really be 12 feet.
Regardless of whatever the path material would be.
Okay.
It's the same requirement.
Right,
And
I just
that's
was-
It's the
what-
same it is now, right?
That's correct. That's what
It's the
exists
same
today.
there now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
All right, are we ready to vote? City Clerk, would you call the roll?
This is A81, right?
A81.
Alderman Fisk?
No.
Alderman Braithwaite? Alderman Nguyen? Alderman Wilson? Alderman Holmes?
Aye.
Alderman Tindem? Alderman Grover? Alderman Rainey?
No.
4 to 4.
The mayor votes aye. All right, Alderman. Thank you, Alderman Holmes. Alderman Fisk, Planning and Development.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. P3 was removed from the consent agenda, but we voted on, remind me, Alderman Rainey, we voted on introduction of suspension of the rules, right? Okay, so this is on for approval. It's ordinance 28015, granting a special use for a type 2 restaurant, Frio Gelato at 517 Dempster Street. I move approval. And there's a second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 28015, granting a special use for a type 2 restaurant, Frio Gelato at 517 Dempster Street. Seeing no lights for any discussion, City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Fisk? Alderman Braithwaite? Alderman Nguyen? Alderman Wilson? Alderman Holmes? Alderman Tindem? Alderman Grover? Alderman Rainey? 8-0.
8-0, the motion passes. Who's the Chair of Economic Development?
Holmes.
Alderman Holmes, as usual. I should just call on you for everything.
I keep forgetting I'm chair for that. I'm sorry. Resolution R8, I'm sorry, Resolution 8-R-15, authorizing the city manager to execute a TIF forgivable loan agreement with Azera of Evanston Incorporated. The Economic Development Committee recommends that the city manager negotiate and execute a funding agreement with the Azera of Evanston for eligible fund expenses not to exceed $2 million from the Dempster Dodge TIF district in support of the construction of the Valley Produce Store at 1910 Dempster.
It's been moved and seconded. Alderman Wilson, did you want to speak to that?
I did, thank you. I guess I'll do a little bit of editorializing before. It's a little bit disappointing that not really any conversation or anybody sticking around for the $2 million item on the agenda.
Well,
so I'm a bit disappointed with that. I didn't vote for the TIF originally. I'm not inclined to vote for the $2 million. I guess what causes me the most concern is that this is phase one of a $9 million ask. So that causes me great pause. So I'm hopeful that going forward, we won't be looking at a recommendation, and I'm going to assume that we won't, for $9 million to this private development. It should be noted that the original purchaser got the property at an auction for $8 million and change, and sold it for $16 million. And, you know, that's the margin that, you know, perhaps ought to have been utilized for the development. So the idea that there wasn't money in the property for redevelopment, to me, falls flat. So for these reasons, I'm not supportive of the funding. However, I am thrilled that the business is coming to town, and I do appreciate their commitment to the community, and I'm fully supportive of their endeavors. It's just disappointing that that this is what they ended up having to pay, and that margin wound up going to a different party.
Thank you. Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to quickly thank Council for your support not only for this project, but for your vision several years ago when you passed this TIF, when Dominic's was still there. I don't think anyone sitting here would have been able to predict the twists and turns of where we are today. I also want to acknowledge the owners and property managers that are here that did stay for the whole evening. You all have been wonderful to work with, and if you take a look at them, I think one of the wonderful things for a project this big, I mean, they show up ready to work every single day, and they don't walk in here with fancy suits. They show up ready to work, and you've been very responsive to the neighbors. You've been good to the local business communities as well, and I think overall this is going to be a great project. We do, Don, invest a lot of dollars in our local businesses, and I also every once in a while get concerned when we write these big checks. But I just want to remind you for this particular project, when you look at the number of jobs that are going to be created, when you look at the potential of the sales tax revenue that's going to be generated, it's hard, I think, for any of us to deny that these are dollars that are going to be well spent and well invested. So I just want to thank you all again and acknowledge our city staff for all the hard work that they did to get us here, and I hope that you're able to support.
Thank you. Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, I am going to be supporting this agreement, but I would also like to amend the agreement with a request that we direct the city manager and our staff to negotiate with Azuri to hire a certain number of our summer youth as part of our summer youth program. Mm-hmm. And our city economic development staff has already been in discussions with the Azuris about this, and they're willing to and happy to participate in that program. But obviously, at this point, it's for them to do it this summer would be difficult. But I would like to have the city. I'd like to amend the agreement to, as I said, to have the city manager negotiate to hire a particular number. I don't have a number in mind, but I do want to make sure that. Particularly with a new employer of such size in our community, that we encourage them to participate in this program. And since we are in this possible process of negotiating a forgivable loan, I think it's an appropriate request.
I think it's brilliant. Thank you. Alderman Holmes.
Well, could I get on to my
Alderman? You want?
It's before me.
You make an amendment. Whose motion was it?
Yes.
Lois, is that okay? Mm-hmm. All right.
Do we amend it?
Your amendment has been accepted.
Yes,
Thank you.
Accept the amendment. Alderman Tindem's first.
Oh, okay. Alderman Tindem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I, too, voted against this TIF when it was created. I believe you're pretty far down the line now. I will support this request this evening, but I also believe I've reached my limit in what I could see putting into this particular parcel. Yeah, it is the TIF itself, but I think we could have predicted some of these outcomes. I think it was ill-conceived to begin with. So. But now that they're in it, I like the company that's going in there. I think it'll be great things for the neighborhood and for employment. So I will support this part of it to push it on forward.
Thank you, Alderman Holmes.
Well, I voted for it then, and I'm going to vote for it now. However, I'm not predicting if I'm going to vote anymore. It's really going to depend upon the types of vendors that are brought into the shopping center for me, because that's going to mean a lot to our community, and how quick you can get my nail shop open back again. That's for sure. So, no, but for real, I certainly am committing to the $2 million, but I can't commit past that. And I think that it's really going to depend. I think the mall is a great place, but it really needs some attractive vendors to come in there to make it successful for everyone.
Thank you. Seeing no lights for further discussion, City Clerk, would you call the roll for Resolution 8R15 as amended, including asking the city manager to negotiate a number of summer youth hires.
Yes. Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen. Aye. Alderman Wilson.
No.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
7-1.
7-1, the ayes have it. We are at call of the wards, and Alderman Rainey, you asked me to respond to Betty Esther, who was concerned, as I recall, about the governor's budget. The governor's budget is far from a done deal in Springfield, so there is no reason for us to be doing anything to redo our budget at this moment. The important thing is to contact our legislators, which I believe we are doing. Certainly, they are aware of our concerns about the governor's proposal to cut local government distributive fund. So we begin with Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one announcement tonight. The next First Ward meeting is Tuesday, March 3rd from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Public Library, and hope to see you all there.
Thank you, Alderman Braithwaite.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Nguyen. Thanks, Alderman Wilson.
A fourth ward meeting this Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the McGaw YMCA.
Thank you, and Alderman Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that I happened upon a fantastic Black History program at the Levy Center last Saturday, and they're having another one this coming Saturday, starting at 12:30. I think they're 12:30 until 3. And also would like to invite everyone at 3 o'clock to come to 1823 Church as we rename the 1823 Church building to the Gibbs Morrison Cultural Center, and to really encourage you to come out and support us, because we think this is going to be a spark to that area. And we'll get it open, and we won't have a closed building on that corner anymore. So we're happy, even though we won't be open until June, and we understand that. But at least people will know that something is coming, and it's just a spark that I think we need. On Saturday the 28th at 3 o'clock. I'm sorry. It went out. I think it went out last week, but I'm sure that Charlize will send out something else as a reminder. I will call her tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you. Alderman Tindem?
No report tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Grover?
Yeah, there was a battle going on tonight, turns out. It wasn't here. It was the ETHS girls basketball team beat Glenbrook South in 4 overtimes to advance to the Sweet 16 in the Class 4A state tournament for the 3rd year in a row. They next play New Trier on Thursday.
Wow.
I don't know where. I just got a text with all that information. So our girls have advanced to the Sweet 16 yet again in a 4 overtime game. There will also be a house moving next week. We think. So stay tuned for more information about the specifics of the Sullivan Bergen house that right now is temporarily housed on a parking lot at the new Whole Foods on Green Bay Road, and we think it will be advancing to its new home sometime next week, very early in the morning.
Great.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey.
Well, one thing that people need to remember about Governor Rauner's threat is that this is money that economic development committees and councils and cities work to generate through retail and other commercial efforts. And it's our money that he's taking back, and it's not like it's not going to be spent. He's going to spend it. And so I just think it is probably next to his announcement today that he might be ending the low-income assistance for fuel, and in order to help balance his budget, he's going to cancel that program. That's another threat. This is probably the worst, because this really helps communities and it's money we've spent, and it's money we work so hard to generate by bringing businesses to our community.
Thank you, and you're absolutely right.
He's absolutely dangerous as far as I'm concerned.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second? All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.
You don't